at 11 a.m. Is our monthly meeting. Prior to our monthly meeting, we were going to have our two committee meetings, one being Audit Committee, which our chairperson is Roger Higgins. So, Mr. Higgins, will you kindly take over the Audit Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First item of business is to accept the minutes of the December 19 Audit Committee meeting.
March 19th.
I'm sorry, the March 19th meeting. Is there a motion?
I move it.
Second? We have a second? We need a second to approve the minutes?
Harry seconded.
Harry off of
Okay.
mute.
Harry's on mute.
Harry, can you get off mute?
We have our second?
I think you are the first person that asked me to get off mute.
All in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Thank you. The next item of business is to review the 2020 internal control systems auditor/internal audit plan and engagement letter. I believe Brian wants to just say a few words, I think.
Thank you, Chairman or Commissioner. Basically, it's the 2020 Internal Control Systems Auditor engagement. It's the routine annual contract. It's $20,500. It's the last year of the 5-year RFP cycle. The 3 areas that will be audited via the Internal Control Systems Auditor this year are payroll, personnel, and benefits, facilities inspection and maintenance, and toll collection and revenues. They're going to attempt to do it remotely in light of COVID-19. And this will be forwarded to the board, and this is simply to approve the engagement totaling $20,500.
And I need a motion?
Move.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next is a review of the audit of the year end 2020, of the 2020 financial statements. Brian?
Again, this is an annual requirement. The current auditor, EFPR group, basically has proposed for their 5th and final year of the contract the same amount as originally proposed years ago. $16,900 for the year to be forwarded to the board for approval. It's the annual engagement for the financial statement audit.
Thank you, Brian. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Is there any other business to come before the audit committee today? Seeing none, motion to adjourn.
Moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye.
Did a very good job, Mr.
That's the audit committee's business, Mr. Chairman.
All right, next our Finance Committee. Our Finance Committee is chaired by Commissioner Dressel.
Yes, on mute.
Commissioner
You're on mute.
Okay, first thing we're gonna do is adopt the minutes of the March 19th meeting. Hear a motion?
So
I'll make
moved.
a motion. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Okay, so the next on the agenda is the capital program for financing, which is going to be the big topic for the board today. So any discussion?
Well, we're going to have discussion during the board meeting, correct?
I would suggest that we would just adopt it as a finance committee and pass it on to the board for discussion later.
Essentially, the finance committee recommends it to the entire board, but we're meeting as a committee of the whole anyway, right?
No,
No, we're
separate committee.
Oh, okay, then Yeah, let's move it on.
All right, I will make a motion that we have an open discussion at the board meeting, that we as a finance committee will move it to the board meeting.
second,
Okay, so Jen, you got that? Teresa? Yeah. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
I've got it.
aye,
Okay, so any other business on the finance committee? If, why, how about adjournment? A motion
move
for-
to adjourn,
Okay,
Second, a
Right.
second,
got it, Jen? Okay, all in favor, adjournment?
aye.
aye.
All right, so we'll pass it back to you, Rich.
All right, thank you. Next, we're going to move on to our board meeting. First, let me introduce our commissioners. Commissioner Ron Dressel, Commissioner Roger Higgins, Commissioner Diane Jumblaski, Commissioner Harry Stanton, our Executive Director, Tara Sullivan, our Counsel Carl Whitback, and myself, Richard Jarentine, as Chairman. I didn't miss anyone, did I?
I'm sorry.
All right. The board meeting, adopt the annual regular board minutes to the May 26th meeting.
Moved.
Second,
Second,
any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Next, we have no administration and human resources or engineering and maintenance. Jeff, you have 5 different topics.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
So what I'd like to do first is give a brief overview of how all the projects are related to the capital plan that the board approved last October. And, you know, basically the September 10th capital plan had a total budget for the Newburgh-Beacon and the Mid-Hudson curb and railing project, including AET, of $116.5 million. Based on the bids that we got for the several projects and the CI work, it's coming up to about $126.75 million, which is about a 8.8% increase. So that just gives you a brief overview of you know, where we stand overall with the capital plan. And now I'd like to get into each of the items that we have on the agenda here today. The first one up is the Mid-Hudson Bridge truss hanger railing and joint repairs, along with the Newburgh-Beacon Southwest abutment bearing repairs. The contract was, 14 contractors had requested the bid package. We received 4 bids. Hudson Valley Bridge Construction was the low bidder at $7,862,000. Which was well below the engineer's estimate of $10,224,760. We conferred with the engineers, Majeski and Masters. They felt that the project was doable for this amount. Valley has confirmed that they're ready to go. So I'd like to recommend that the board approve the Hudson Valley Bridge Construction's bid of $7,862,000.
Someone make a motion, please?
So moved, Mr. Chairman. So moved.
Second,
Second.
Discussion? That bid is a little bit lower, like you mentioned, from the engineer's estimate of about $3 million, just a bit shy of $3 million. So it seems pretty much pretty advantageous for the Bridge Authority.
Yes, that's
But this
correct.
is part, I have a question. This is part of the capital plan that we had authorized and not the revised capital plan that we have not voted on?
Right, this, we had 10 million, the board had approved $10 million for the Mid-Hudson Bridge curb and railing project that was in the 9/10/19 capital improvement plan. That included the construction contract and the CI contract. And so with the construction contract, just under 8 million, and the CI is around $610,000, we're still below what was in the original capital improvement program.
And is this tied to the redecking, or is this a whole separate project?
Right, this has nothing to do with redecking. It is a project that we've stated to Department of Budget that needs to be done to keep the public safe.
Okay,
Yeah, for the record, this is Mid-Hudson Bridge work plus the south span bearings on the at Newburgh, not north span.
okay, yeah,
That's
Yeah.
it.
thanks.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
I,
Then along with that project, we have the construction inspection contract for that. In December of 2019, we advertised for system-wide construction inspection services for the 2020-2021 construction season. We received 12 proposals at that time, and then we shortlisted 5 to provide us a cost proposal for this particular job. And KS Engineers was chosen as the best qualified with their not to exceed price of $610,000.
So
Jeff,
moved,
I'm
please.
just not familiar with KS. Would you just give us a little bit of background on them?
Sure. KS actually performed the construction inspection for us for the 9W raising project down at Newburgh, the overpass there. That was you know, one of their first major projects. I mean, that was a big job for them. So they performed that very well, and we're very comfortable to be able to propose them for this project. And you know, it's great. They're also a certified MBE.
Someone move it, please.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Second.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Next, Jeff.
Okay, hang on, let me get it up on my computer here. Next is the contract for the Newburgh-Beacon redecking project. We advertised the proposal a couple months ago, back in March, and 44 contractors picked up the package. We received bids from 4 companies. Yonkers was the apparent low bidder with a base, and this project was bid as a base bid and 2 alternates. The base bid includes the redecking of the bridge along with the installation of all AET structures that are required to be able to get the AET contractor up and we can start collecting AET tolls. So that's very important. That was all in the base bid. Alternate 1, which was for additional AET work, is just for the removal of the toll plaza as well as reconfiguration of the toll plaza roadway. So that, although it doesn't need to be done to get us to start collecting AET tolls, it should be done fairly soon after that so that we don't have cars having to drive through the toll plazas. And then alternate 2 was an additional piece where we were looking into possibly adding solar panels onto the north span to increase our energy efficiency. However, you know, as the bids came in, although we had $85 million in the original capital program from September last year, which was approved by the board, that was for just the redecking. The bid actually for just redecking came at about $92.5 million. So it was only about 8.8% over what we had anticipated in the budget. However, during the design process and then the engineer's estimate, came up to a 76.5 million for just the deck construction and the AET initial piece versus the low bidder of 95 million. And then alternate one also had $7.1 million engineer's estimate versus the 6.8 million that the contractor bid. So overall, with those two, we were about 22% over the engineer's estimate versus only about 8.8% over the capital plan estimate. So we're proposing that the board approve the base bid plus alternate one for a total of $101,840,002 for this project. It is a project that we've told DOB needs to be done for the public safety, and we're definitely recommending that the board approve this.
Okay, as you say, it is just for the brackets for the solar panel. It seems to me, in the view of all the financials I read on our agenda, seems to me this solar is not essential at this time. When I see our revenue down, and it was 50%, now unfortunately it's up around what, 20, down about 20, Brian? In other words, certainly, I know if it was my business, I would say that's when I can buy energy as cheap as it is right now, why invest that kind of money in a structure like that? Just doesn't come up to my thinking of good business at this time, especially with this cost of this redecking right to start with.
I want to, I endorse Jeff's recommendation here because I think there's an awful lot of benefit in having a single contractor managing both the toll plaza and the bridge because of all the traffic management issues that are going to go into that. And I think I think the toll plaza is a major safety issue. Once we get AET up and operating, it's going to be essential to get those toll booths out of the way. I look at that as a big safety hazard. And having the same contractor responsible for coordinating how we do it and managing the traffic is a real bonus. So I
I
think
have a process question. How can we vote on this when we don't know how we're going to have the money to pay for it? I mean, I am not in favor of voting for this when I have no idea about how we will find the funds for it.
So we're going to address that later on in the meeting. Do we want to?
Then I would defer the vote on this until after we have the discussion on the financing.
Well, why don't we have the discussion on this and hold off on the vote? Have the
Hold
other
up on
discussion and then.
Part C here until we have the part about the financing.
Mhm.
But let me just clear one thing up. Jeff, you're recommending just the alternative one, not alternative 1 and 2 for this proposal, correct?
That's correct. We're just recommending the base bid plus alternate one.
Okay. All right, so can we just, if the board would allow, just to hold this up until later in the meeting to come back and have a vote on this? Everybody agreeable to that?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Okay. Also, number D, we'll hold that off too until we have the discussion about the financing, correct?
Yeah, there's no reason to do D unless the first one gets approved.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, so let's hold C and D till later in the meeting. Everybody agreeable?
Mhm.
Yes.
All right, jobs in progress report, please.
Yes, the jobs in progress, the one job we have going on at Newburgh South Span right now is the pedestrian walkway rehabilitation. That's a little over 50% complete, and we're looking to have the project probably completed in August or September this year. And that's about it.
Move to accept the jobs in progress report.
A second, please. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm
sorry,
sorry, I guess-
who was, Rich, stop for a second. Who was the second? I missed that.
Diane
Thank you, Harry. Got it.
or Harry, whatever.
All right, we're gonna go through our normal financial, and then we'll come back to the financial of the redecking. First, Brian, investment report, please.
Okay, first up is the investment report. There was one investment for the month. Appreciate that a good part of the month, interest rates are still fairly low. As I noted last month, we're still only making about 55 cents a day for each $1 million because of the level of interest rates. Many of them are negative. That one investment is reflected in the investment inventory on the next page. Currently, the maintenance reserve fund stands at a balance of $55.4 million. Interest and yield, income and yield on the next page, as you can see, continues to decline, associated primarily with market rates.
Hello?
Move to accept the investment report, Mr. Chairman.
A second, please. A second, please.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Next,
Okay.
Brian.
Next up is the audit of year-end 2020 financial statements, the engagement letter for EFPR Group. As noted in the committee, it was $16,900 for the current year, so they can help us prepare our financials.
Someone move it, please.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second,
Second.
discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Next, internal
Next up.
control.
The 2020 Internal Control Systems Auditor, while the audit committee reviewed the internal audit plan, the board needs to approve the engagement letter, approving the $20,500 for the current year engagement. This is an item that also came out of the audit committee, as noted.
Someone move it, please.
So
So
moved.
moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay. Last up is the item that came out of the committee that was deferred. Included here that the board has to take action on is the resolution of intent that would allow the authority to reimburse the maintenance reserve fund for any bond proceeds associated with the deck job.
I move it.
Second,
Second.
question.
I'm not sure, I'm trying to understand what this really does for us. It doesn't get us any money. I just, and we still won't have enough money, even if we pass this. Does this give us the financing appropriate to be able to pass the resolution on the decking?
Can I ask a question, Chairman?
Yes,
Diane, the only thing that has changed is COVID. Is that what you're connecting to your concern?
No, I'm connecting to my concern that we don't have the money right now to pay for it. We are not authorizing any bonding here. We're only saying we're making an intent. So I want to know what the intent to bond really obligates us to and what it provides for us and what it provides for us if there's another board or if we're gone. I mean, is this how binding is this? What does this really do for the Bridge Authority in terms of its fiduciary, its financial accountability?
Brian, Chris?
Actually, Chris, would you speak to that?
Great. So this resolution is really put in place for tax purposes. When you are going to plan, or when your plan of financing includes issuance of obligations, if you are going to spend funds, which you are later going to reimburse with proceeds of bonds, you need to establish that intent ahead of time. So this is really, if you will, it's a different question from what is your plan of financing, which I think Brian's going to get into shortly. This is really just to meet a requirement for tax purposes. So I think Brian will be able to discuss the long-term plan of financing for the project, which at this point continues to include short-term financing to be issued in approximately first quarter of 2021 after the expenditure available maintenance reserve fund monies, and then an additional series of obligations issued likely in the beginning of 2022.
But this is essentially a prerequisite for additional, for us to issue additional debt. And
Correct, but it is not,
announces our intention to borrow up to $90 million, which will complete the funding package for all of the capital programs.
correct, but it is not a bond resolution in the sense
Not
that
a
it
bond
does not
resolution.
authorize the issuance of the obligation.
It's the first necessary step to get us to it.
Right.
Diane, you feel comfortable with that explanation?
Well, I understand that explanation. I'm still concerned that we're thinking about authorizing a contract where we don't have sufficient funds to cover it. And I know we have an intent and a plan on how we expect to bond. I'm wondering if that is fiscally prudent in these times when there are so many unknowns. I'm raising the question. I'm
I got
just,
news for you. Unless you want to swim, I think it's prudent to get this project underway. Serious. That bridge desperately needs to be repaired. There are no longer any ifs, ands, or buts about it.
And it's, you know, it's ordinary to, you know, to borrow the money only when you need it, not a year in advance. You know, we have plenty of money to start this project. We wouldn't actually sell the bonds until we need the money.
I understand that, but it's
obviously our revenues are, you know, may cause a problem with the interest rate that we sell on those bonds, but you know, the world is, as we've seen, the world changes very quickly. But you know, we really wouldn't borrow on for the bonds and have the money in hand on any project until sometime in the future.
No, I understand that, but we've always been working out of a large maintenance reserve fund. And we've always had a plan that we understand how that was going to go and a corresponding bond plan for that. So I understand that, and I'm not disputing the issue about the safety of the bridge. I just want to make sure that as a board, we are really adhering, we are being responsible in terms of our fiduciary responsibility. So
I think we are acting reasonably under the circumstances. And I have to tell you one more thing is looking at our revenue to date, even through the COVID emergency, compared to other people, we are in very good shape. Our revenue line downturn is substantial, but it's nothing compared to what other agencies have endured or are enduring. We have an interesting mix of facilities where we suffered a great loss in commuter traffic. We're still picking it up very handily on commercial traffic, especially in Newburgh. We got the second half of the year is normally a busier half than the first, and we are entering into that, and traffic is showing signs of increasing again. I'm comfortable that we will be able to go through this entire financial plan literally without stress. But I think it's absolutely urgent that we get the contract underway. And, you know, this plan makes a lot of sense.
Diane, you bring up a good point about what you're referring to here. I would think during normal times that would be an issue that we'd be much more concerned with. But, you know, at this point, I think Harry has, you know, encapsulate what exactly, you know, we feel comfortable doing. Hopefully things are going to get better. And it gives us an option if we ever need to go out to get more bonding to finish the project.
So Jeff, in the contract, are there any restraints? Is this for how long? And also, is there a payment schedule in these contracts?
Yeah, we have a payment schedule from the contractor that you know, was given to Brian, and I believe he's sent that to his financial people, and he can talk more on that.
Basically, we have a yearly expenditure projection. It's still reasonably within the original estimate we had from the adjusted program. So we don't anticipate needing bonding or new money until the early part of next year. There are sufficient revenues in the maintenance reserve fund that will allow us to run out the year, ideally without any issue.
Mhm.
Next year, we would need to go and begin to borrow, similar to the original budget plan that was approved by the board in December. We would need to do an initial 40 to 50 million. That will be a subsequent resolution to fund the capital program. The bulk of the work should start early next year.
I apologize. I lost my connection for a couple of minutes there. Back. I think it's important also to understand we would be doing this in different order had it not been for the COVID situation because of the way that screws up the revenue numbers. Otherwise, we'd be normally going out and borrowing first. And we would have been in great shape to do that had it not been for this intervention.
But is it true that the cost is going to be somewhat higher because we're going to do bands and because they're going to be subordinate bonds? So the interest costs are going to be more than when we do normal bonding, if there is such thing as normal bonding?
Agreed, we are issuing subordinated debt in order to comply with the resolution.
So how much is that in millions of dollars? Do you have any sense, Brian?
At this time, it'd be very difficult to quantify because we're just guessing, we're estimating out from a distance. Remember, I mean, just a few weeks ago, the bond market was frozen. We're making an assumption now where we're saying, I think we're expecting, in the document that was sent to the board.
It's okay. I just wanted to make sure the board was aware that we will be paying more in interest costs than we normally do when we bond. So, and that's, I just want to make sure that's a correct statement and the board understands.
That's a correct statement. When we projected it, we said current interest rates plus 100 basis points as we stress tested the capacity for the authority to pay for the job. We did a number of scenarios with the financial advisor, and at this point, we still believe that everything still comes out under current expectations that we'll be able to finance it.
Okay. And when do we expect to get the traffic report?
I'm sorry, you broke up.
The traffic, isn't the other component the traffic estimates?
We would need to go and bring the traffic consultant back on to refresh the traffic projection as part of the budgeting cycle in the next few months. We've spoken to the traffic consultant separately where they're indicating that, you know, they're still putting together projections because to everyone, this is really very new. Okay, we've actually benefited quite well compared to many other entities in tolling because a good portion of our commercial traffic came back. I believe in the first part of the month, we were literally at like 93 or 94% of pre-pandemic commercial traffic. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting background. You know, we will have to be working with the traffic consultant in the coming months to see where or what our revenue projection will be, and that will be necessary for any debt issuance early next year. And ideally we would have a preliminary on that for the budget cycle that begins in third quarter.
Okay.
Anybody have any other questions? If not, do we have a motion? Do we have a motion on this already?
I move it.
Second?
Second it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Next, let's go back to, let's just finish the agenda and then we'll go back to the financing engineering. Information technology, Microsoft licensing renewal.
Yeah, this is our annual.
Wait. Hold on, Rich. Jeff has one more item you have to go back to. Is the CI, right?
Well, we have the two Newburgh.
We have two
We're
items
gonna
there
go
to
back at the end.
Okay,
to the two.
gotcha.
I got two items.
Mhm.
Yep.
All right, Greg?
So this is our annual Microsoft licensing. Microsoft affords us a 3-year contract with the ability to pay in 3 equal increments. This is the second payment for a total of $69.70.
So I'll move it, please.
So move.
Second,
Second.
discussion? If not, roll call, all in favor, say aye.
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 Next, bridge operations. Tara, your executive report. Tara? Is Tara here?
Tara,
I'm
unmute.
here. Can you see me, Richard?
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
up.
okay, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sorry about that.
That's-
Okay, first, the New York State Bridge Authority Acting Executive Director report. There's nothing to report. Following that, I have the May 2020 traffic and revenue analysis, cash and easy pass comparison that shows that the New York State Bridge Authority's revenues saw a decrease of 16.48%. In addition, I have the May 2020 Easy Pass sales analysis, and that shows an increase of 3.62%. And finally, Chairman, I've got Kathy Burke's Historic Bridges of the Hudson Valley report, and she has illustrated all of her bank activity and balance on her accounts, and she continues to work on the Bear Mountain Bridge Museum, as well as the Harriman exhibit that we hope to have finished this summer. That's all I have to report, Chairman.
Any questions for Tara?
No, but I would recommend to everybody that they take a close look at these traffic numbers. I was surprised at how good they are for the first 9 months. Our traffic volume is down 22.8%. It's coming back. Okay? But our revenue for the first 5 months is only down 16.48. Okay. I got to tell you guys, in the industry, these numbers are outstanding.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, hopefully we'll be back on a better track next month with our traffic and our income coming in. Okay, next, no presentations to the board. We will go back to the financing of the decking at this point. We have a memorandum here that from Tara, to Tara from Christine and Brian.
We did that already, right? That's that one. Didn't we do the resolution on finance?
Yeah, we have to go back to the contracts.
Contracts, right.
Under-
We got to go back to
Resolution
both of
intent.
those contracts in engineering.
Right.
That's
It should be
2BC and 2BD.
All right, so let's go to C, which is the decking replacement electronic tolling. All right, we had a discussion earlier. Comments?
Well, we have a recommendation to award the contract for the base work plus alternative 1. Okay.
Any questions?
Did we have a motion on this already? I think we did, right?
Yes, we did. And we said that we were going to hold it off till later in the meeting. No comments? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Wait, who made the motion?
Yeah,
No, yeah.
All right.
All you guys did was table it. Nobody made a
Right.
motion to move
Right,
it.
I have
I'm
Stan.
gonna-
So
right, I'm gonna-
someone's got to move it.
Okay, I
I'll
move it.
move it. I'll move
Okay,
it.
Roger, go ahead. I'll second.
Okay,
Okay, got it.
Now we'll vote.
Yep.
Any questions, concerns? If not, all in favor, say aye.
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 Next, resolution, the deck replacement electronic tolling, AET.
Yeah, so
Construction inspection.
for the construction inspection for the deck replacement and AET project at Newburgh, in April of 2020, we advertised for the construction inspection services, and 11 proposals were received. All the proposals were graded based on a matrix, which was attached to the package. The consultant, HDR, was chosen as the best qualified and included a not to exceed cost proposal of $4,549,957.21. HDR has done quite a bit of work for the Bridge Authority, including the catwalk lowering at Newburgh project, which was just a couple years ago.
Someone move it, please.
I'll move, Mr. Chairman.
Second,
Second.
questions? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Anything else we're gonna bring up? Carl, anything else? Carl?
No, not for me.
All right, any old business, new business, returning client privilege?
No.
If not, a motion to adjourn. Our next meeting will be July 16th, 2020, regular time, 3 p.m. Hopefully, if everything is permitting, maybe we'll do it at the Bridge Authority.
Good news.
Very good. Excuse me, sir.
Yeah. A motion to
Ladies.
adjourn.
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
A
Second.
second, please.
Second, got it.
All in favor, say
I
aye.
move. Aye.
Aye.
All righty, thank you. Be safe. Have a nice day.